Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Tips, brought to you by Hunt Lift Eat Official. I'm Carter, here with Kerri. Having a little Saturday morning chat here. What's going on, man?
What's up, dude? How are you?
Oh, life is good, man. Another beautiful day. Turkey
Yeah,
season's over here. Didn't kill anything.
same,
Crushed it.
same.
Crushed
That's
it.
good though. I mean, that kind of works out what we're getting ready to talk to, right? Because
Yeah. Yep.
not killing turkeys is really frustrating, right? Ask me how
Sometimes
I
the
know.
most. Yeah. Yeah, the most, man. Yeah, why don't
Yeah,
you introduce our topic, man, and give us a little context?
yeah. So, figure we talk about positive mental attitude, man. PMA. I don't know where that acronym term came from, man, but I had a Navy EOD guy get attached to my team for an exercise down in Louisiana, and the dude was just one of those infectiously happy guys, right? And so we'd get impossible tasks that we'd have to do because that's kind of the game down there. And he's like, "Fuck it, all we need is a little PMA, man. Just a little PMA, we'll get it done." And so that's kind of stuck with me, man. So positive mental attitude, it's not something that I naturally have, man. I'm very quick to be like, something goes slightly wrong and I'm like, crap, fuck, like that's me. But I have to fight it, right? Because like, what good does that do when you're a Debbie Downer about everything, right?
Yeah.
And it works out great, like for what we do, as hunters, right? Hunters, fishermen, outdoorsmen, and stuff like that. Like, I don't know how many times you've been in a tree stand for just weeks at a time and you don't see jack, or you don't see the ones you're looking for, or you're like me and you do 5 seasons hunting turkeys and the closest you've got is a hen, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
uh, but you've got to look at things. You got to spin it right in your own head, because you can't just sit there and be like, well, this sucks, because you're going to not be a hunter. You're going to stop.
Yep.
You're never going to get that thing that you went out to get. You're never going to get that buck, that turkey, elk, whatever it is, because you're going to give up. And good example, other than the turkey, because I'm not really sure if those are real, right? So, so that may be the problem. They're just mythical. I don't know. But like last year, man, I had and I don't know if you remember this, but the chunk of public land that I hunt a lot, uh, they started graveling all these trails and all this stuff going throughout the entire area 1 week after the season started. And so all of the scouting that I did over the summer, everything that I had like pre-planned, pre-prep for the season, kind of went completely out the window. They closed down parts of that chunk of public land that I was hunting on. Um, Deer got pushed around because of all the construction, man, and I lost the deer for a month, man. It was at least a month. I couldn't find them anymore.
Yeah.
So that's looking at maps. That's I was pulling up Onyx, trying to find terrain, talking to friends that are better at this than I am. Still couldn't find them, and so it was really easy to get frustrated and to kind of just call it, right? Like, yeah, screw this. I'm just out there wasting my time.
Yeah.
But it didn't, right? Because I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not seeing deer, but you know what I am doing? I'm spending time in the woods, man. Like, you know where I'm not? I'm not at a cubicle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not answering to the man, right? I'm in the woods, and I'm
Yeah.
doing my own thing, and I'm learning, right? So I'm taking that like, all right, I tried this area. These are all the outside factors out of my control. These are the factors in my control that I can manipulate and change, and I'm learning from it, right? And that's that positive mental attitude. Um, I don't know, man. Like, what about you? Like, you didn't see a turkey this year, right?
I saw one. I actually missed a turkey with my bow. First time ever.
Yeah,
Boy, is that hard to come back from with a positive mental attitude. Missed
yeah,
him pouring down rain. I made a really cool stalk in on him here at the new house on the lake. It was pretty cool. And used the terrain features, and it was sweet. I was pretty proud of that stalk. And then at 20 yards, I had just gotten back from MAF like 30 minutes before, like literally
yeah,
30 minutes before. I had one arrow left because I lost all my freaking arrows at MAF. And I was like, this is the one. This is the one. And I draw back on him, and he freaking, they can see so well, and he just looked straight at me and then shot out of there,
Yeah.
and I spent one and missed him by a couple inches. But
Well, dude, I mean,
yeah,
that's dude, like so many examples of positive mental attitude, man. You lost all your arrows but one at Mountain Archery Fest, and what did you
yeah,
do when you got back? You're like, I've got one. We're
gotta
gonna,
still send
we're
it.
gonna give it a whirl.
Right, that's right, dude. Yeah,
It's
man.
awesome.
It's like a yeah, you have to have it, right? If you're gonna hunt or if you're gonna do anything in the outdoors, like you have to have it, or else, like you said, you're not gonna do it anymore. It'll
Yeah,
just become miserable because if it was just like a reward system, it would kind of cheapen the entire experience for all of us. And I think a lot of us wouldn't do it anymore if you didn't have those hard
yeah,
seasons, if you didn't lose the deer, if you weren't still working the problem, right? So like when you take that mindset and you spin it and you're like, okay, like you just mentioned, like what am I doing, right? I think that's one of the things you have to focus on. You have to focus on the good, like what's going right. Well, I'm problem solving. I'm in the woods, right? I'm trying to figure out this puzzle piece, like where the deer are, and like all those the mental gymnastics involved there, and the walking around, and the everything from a heart, mind, and soul kind of point of view. That's all good for you, right? So like
yeah,
that's what's going good. You know what I mean? Maybe I
yeah,
can't find any deer, but like you got to focus on what is going well. Am I
yeah,
spending time? Am I spending time with like people I love in camp or whatever? It's like yes, right? Maybe it's sucking, but like we're together, which is sweet.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
Luke and I can get pretty down when things go sideways, and we both at various trips together have had just like disasters of a trip, and we're both really good. I think like picking your hunting partners is really important. You need to have somebody who can have that positive mental attitude when it's necessary,
It's
and
infectious, man.
it
And
has to. Yeah,
the reverse is the same too.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you're with a Debbie Downer, man, like they can
Mhm.
bring the whole crew down with
It's like
them.
a disease. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So you have to be able to. It's kind of like a responsibility almost, right? If you see somebody having a disaster, you got to pick them back up, and not to be hyperbolic, but like you can save the trip. You know what I mean?
oh
Like,
yeah,
yeah. And then, still sometimes it all comes together, which like I've experienced that too. So focusing on the good, like what is going well is important. Cool.
yeah,
Does anybody have any injuries? No, like we're good, right? Maybe we
yeah,
can't find any deer, but like we're good. We're healthy. We may be a little cold or wet or whatever, but
yeah,
it's going
yep,
good. And
yeah,
you got to
exactly, man.
that Navy EOD guy, he meant it genuinely, right? He wasn't like fucking around. He was
Oh
like,
no, dude, this dude. So his name was Pat, and I don't know his last name. I just did that one exercise with him, and then he ended up getting attached to another somebody else for the deployment. So I never actually talked to the guy again. But then this was 2012, man. So like this is a while ago that this dude has been imprinted in my brain with his positive mental attitude, man. But
yeah,
no, dude, he was just genuinely uh, an upbeat, positive guy,
yeah,
and like if any of the listeners are familiar with the JRTC and the shenanigans that happen inside the box down in Louisiana, formerly known as Fort Polk, I don't know what they call it now. Like it sucks, right? It sucks bad. Like everything about it's terrible. Like you're set up to lose. Everybody's out to get you. Like you're not gonna have a great time down there. Like that's not the point of it, right? The point of it is to like make it harder than combat, so that way you're good for combat.
yeah,
And so it's super if you're one of those dudes, and it's I am one of those guys, man. Like I'm very easily to be like, fuck, like, oh, this sucks, right? That's me. Um, but if you're one of those dudes, man, like you got to understand that. You've got to like make yourself think of the positives. But having a guy like Pat near you, man, when things I remember it was like just pissing down rain, dude. And we hadn't showered in like a week, right? So we're all standing out there, and there's Pat, and he goes, "Look it, I'm taking a shower in the rain." He gets out there in his, Ranger panties, and he starts soaping up in the rain. So the whole rest of the team gets out there, and we're all standing in the rain in Ranger panties, taking a shower, man. Just finding the positive in things that normal people aren't gonna, normally you won't see. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I love that, dude. Yeah, focus on the good. Surround yourself with positive people, and I think setting realistic goals is a good idea too. if you're on a
Yeah.
trip, if you're on a hunt, or if you're laying out like the beginning of your season, if you're prepping for, all right, it's almost deer season, right? And, it's summertime now. So people are starting to take inventory and maybe put out minerals and stuff like that. Like setting realistic goals, I think is important too, not
You gotta
just to
stack,
hunting, but to everything, right? With a
yeah, you
positive
gotta
attitude.
stack stuff in your favor, and
Yeah.
that'll definitely help with keeping that spirit up. Like, I mean, I scouted a lot during the summer. I still lost the deer, but you know what I mean? Like, you got to still look at it like, all right, I did everything I could to stack things in my favor, and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But you know what it did do? I still learned a lot. I still spent a lot of time in the woods. I still got exercise, fresh air.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, man, like none of us are starving. If I don't
Right.
kill a deer,
Right.
like I'll be okay.
It'll be all right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's one of my favorite things Luke says, like on one of his mindset calls that he does for the team here. He's like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And you're like, well, maybe I don't kill a mule deer, right? And he's like, no, actually, what's the worst thing that could happen? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
that's not the worst thing that could happen. Like, we're gonna be okay. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, life
Yeah.
is gonna go on.
Yep. That's absolutely true, man.
Yeah.
But but yeah, dude, like it. I'm glad we got to talk about this, and I'm not an expert. I'm a guy who understands my thought process and understands that I need to change, I need to grow, right?
Yeah.
But but yeah, man, you asked if I wanted to do something, asked me if I had any ideas, and I was actually on a call with a couple other teammates, man, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what to talk about, and dude, so many different ideas were coming up. Like guys wanting me to talk. Oh, well, maybe we could talk about this. Maybe we could talk about that. And then one of them, who's a teammate who's had a pretty rough year as it is, like, but still a very positive guy despite the rough year he's had. And he's like, dude, let's talk about mental health, man. And the first thing that popped in my head when he said that was old Pat, Navy EOD guy, 2012, man. Just
Yeah.
new little fucking PMA, man. So, yeah.
Well, I'm
Well, that's
glad you brought
awesome.
it up, man. I think it's super important and probably not addressed enough. Definitely, another tool in the toolbox, right? Like I
Yep.
always say, and something else that we can all work on, right? If you want to have the best experience possible, um, it's not something to be like overlooked, and definitely something we can all work on sharpening up to have a all around better experience and be better people to each other, right? Like that's important too,
Yeah.
in whatever facet or organization you're in.
And if none of that motivates you to work on it, having a positive mental attitude is going to increase your chances of success as a hunter. So if nothing else motivates you to want to be more
Right.
positive,
Yeah, fuck being a good
that's good.
person. You want to kill more deer, be
Yeah.
positive. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly true. Yep. Cool, man. Glad we got to do this. You got any closing thoughts for us?
Yeah, man. Take kind of just take everything as it is and then really evaluate what's important, what matters, like make yourself find the positives.
Yeah, I love that, man. And, I would just say, like, I say it all the time, but like, life is good, genuinely. Like, break it down, focus on the good. We're doing all right. You know what I mean?
Yep. It
And
ain't
if you're
bad.
not, find where you are, right? And then change that perspective. So awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, Kerri.
Yeah.
Listeners, as always, we appreciate the hell of you guys. We'll talk to you next week.